"Pack your things, you're fired," my brother Marcus announced in front of the entire marketing department, his voice echoing off the glass walls of our 20th-floor office. The 32 employees of Thompson Digital froze at their desks as he continued. "Nepotism only goes so far, and frankly, Diane, you've been coasting on our family name for too long." What Marcus didn't know, what he'd never bothered to learn in his 5 years as CEO, was that our family name was on the building lease because I'd been signing it for the past decade. "I'll be out by lunch," I said calmly, already mentally calculating the logistics of what would happen at 2 p.m. when the building management received my instructions. "Finally showing some professionalism," Marcus smirked, adjusting the Italian suit he'd bought with the bonus from our last profitable quarter. A quarter made possible by 3 accounts I'd personally secured. "Maybe getting fired will teach you the real world doesn't care that we shared a playpen." The playpen reference stung more than the firing. Marcus loved reminding everyone that we'd grown up together, that he was older by 18 months, that he'd always been the responsible one while I was the creative type, who needed constant supervision. Never mind that I'd started at Thompson Digital fresh from college, worked my way up from intern to director of strategic partnerships, or that I'd been instrumental in transforming Dad's small print advertising firm into a digital powerhouse. "Marcus," Jennifer from HR stepped forward nervously. "Shouldn't we handle this privately?" "No," he waved her off, clearly enjoying his audience. "Diane needs to understand that family doesn't guarantee employment. I've carried her for 8 years. Time for some tough love." Carried me. I bit my tongue, thinking of the Morrison Industries contract I'd landed last month. $2.3 million annually. The Westfield Group partnership I'd negotiated. $1.8 million. The dozen other accounts that came to Thompson Digital specifically because of relationships I'd cultivated. But pointing that out would only extend this humiliation. "You're right," I said, standing up from my desk. "Family shouldn't guarantee employment. Performance should speak for itself." "Exactly. And your performance has been mediocre at best. Coasting on connections instead of producing results." Several employees shifted uncomfortably. They knew the truth. My connections had generated 65% of the company's revenue last year. But Marcus had positioned himself as the tough but fair leader making hard decisions, and no one wanted to risk their job defending me. I packed methodically. The photos of Dad and me at the company's founding. My collection of industry awards, which Marcus had always claimed were participation trophies. The small cactus our receptionist had given me 5 years ago that had somehow survived despite my black thumb. "Don't take the laptop," Marcus instructed. "Company property." "Of course," I said, though the laptop contained 5 years of my personal contacts, strategies, and proposals. All backed up on my personal cloud, naturally, but he didn't need to know that. "And your keycard. And parking pass. And," he paused dramatically, "the keys to the executive bathroom. Family privileges are officially revoked." A few people tittered nervously. Marcus had always resented that Dad gave us equal access to executive perks, despite the hierarchy. Now he could finally establish his dominance. I handed over everything, noting the time, 11:47 a.m. In 2 hours and 13 minutes, Marcus would learn exactly what he'd just fired. "Anything else?" I asked. "Yeah. Don't use me as a reference. You want to play in the real world? Start from scratch. See how far the Thompson name gets you without my protection." "Understood. Can I say goodbye to the team?" He considered this, clearly weighing the optics. 5 minutes. Keep it professional." I walked through the office, shaking hands, hugging a few people who risked Marcus's displeasure to show support. At reception, I stopped by Gladys's desk. She'd been with the company since Dad's time, had watched Marcus and me grow from teenagers hanging around the office to executives. "This isn't right," she whispered fiercely. "Your father would be spinning in his grave." "Dad always said the company would survive or fail based on its choices," I replied carefully. "I guess we're about to test that theory." I left through the main lobby, noting the building's features I'd grown to love over the years. The Art Deco molding, the restored brass elevators, the marble floors I'd specifically requested during the last renovation. My phone buzzed as I reached the street. A text from Patricia, our CFO. "This is insane. He can't run this place without you." "He's about to try," I texted back. I went to my favorite cafe down the block, not to wallow, but to wait. At exactly 1:55 p.m., I called the building management company I'd been working with for 10 years. "Diane, lovely to hear from you. How's the new tenant situation? About that, George. I need to exercise the 30-day termination clause for Thompson Digital's lease. Silence. But they've been model tenants. Is there a problem? Let's just say there's been a change in our business relationship that makes their continued occupancy problematic. I see. And this is effective? Immediately. Though I'll give them until end of business today to start packing. I'm not heartless. Of course. I'll send the notice right away. Such a shame. It's been, 10 years since your father signed that first lease. Actually, George, my father never signed a lease with you. I did. Through Cornerstone Holdings, LLC. Another pause. But I thought. Marcus Thompson always implied. Marcus implies a lot of things. Send the notice, please. And George? Make sure it goes directly to him, not through reception. At 2:03 p.m., my phone exploded. Marcus calling. I let it ring. Patricia texting frantically. Jennifer from HR begging me to call back. Various employees expressing shock, confusion, support. At 2:17 p.m., Marcus left a voicemail. Diane, what the hell did you do? This is illegal. You can't evict us from our own building. Our building. Still living in his carefully constructed reality. At 2:32 p.m., I finally answered his 15th call. You evicted the company? He screamed without preamble. From Dad's building. First, calm down. Second, it's not Dad's building. It never was. I bought it through Cornerstone Holdings when the previous owner went bankrupt in 2014. You were too busy playing CEO to notice. That's impossible. The lease payments go to Thompson Digital, the company, which then pays Cornerstone Holdings, my company. I've been essentially paying myself rent for a decade. It was a tax-efficient structure that also protected the building as a separate asset. But Dad knew. He helped structure the deal. Said it was smart to keep real estate separate from operations. You'd know this if you'd ever asked about anything beyond your title and salary. Silence. I could practically hear his worldview shattering. The board will sue you, he said finally. For what? Declining to renew a lease? That's my right as property owner. The 30-day notice period is a courtesy. The lease actually allows for immediate termination under certain conditions. What conditions? Material breach of contract. Like, say, firing the person who personally guaranteed the lease modifications, the build-out costs, the below-market rate Thompson Digital has been enjoying. You've been sabotaging us. I've been subsidizing you. I snapped, finally letting anger creep in. Market rate for that space is $75 per square foot. You've been paying $40. That's $2.3 million in foregone revenue over 10 years. My gift to the family business. If you own the building, why didn't you ever say anything? Would it have mattered? Would you have treated me differently? Show me more respect? Or would you have found a way to make it seem like nepotism, like I was using Daddy's money to buy influence? He had no answer for that. Besides, I continued, I wanted to be valued for my work, not my real estate portfolio. Stupid of me, really. You were never going to see past your own ego. Diane, please. We can work this out. The company needs that location. Our clients expect. Your clients. Your company. Your problem. You made it very clear this morning that family doesn't guarantee anything in business. I'm just following your lead. Where are we supposed to go? Wherever companies go when they can't afford premium real estate. Maybe check the suburbs. I hear there are some nice industrial parks with competitive rates. This will destroy Thompson Digital. Is that what you want? I thought about it. What I wanted was a brother who valued my contributions. Who saw me as a partner, not competition. Who understood that we built something together, even if your name was on the door. We can fix this. No, Marcus. You can fix this. Or not. Either way, it's no longer my problem. I was fired, remember? Need to go update my LinkedIn. I hung up and blocked his number. The phone immediately lit up with other calls, but I ignored them all. Instead, I walked back to the building, my building, and took the elevator to the management office on the second floor. Ms. Morrison, the security chief nodded respectfully. Heard there might be some commotion later. Thompson Digital will be vacating. They might resist. Standard protocols apply. No violence, but no exceptions either. They have until 6 p.m. to begin an orderly exit. Understood, ma'am. I spent the rest of the afternoon in my actual office, a suite on the 30th floor that I'd kept private for years. From there, I could see the 20th floor in chaos. Employees packing frantically. Marcus gesticulating wildly on phone calls. Moving trucks being arranged. Patricia called from her personal phone. Diane, I know you're angry, but please reconsider. We have client meetings scheduled. Presentations to prepare. The whole workflow. Patricia, I offered to transition out gracefully. Marcus chose to make it a public execution. Actions have consequences. But the employees will be fine. There are other agencies in the building. I've already sent word that I'll waive security deposits for any company willing to hire Thompson Digital refugees. Peters and Associates is particularly interested in that development team Marcus just demoralized. You planned this. I planned for this. There's a difference. 10 years of contingencies, hoping I'd never need them. By 5 p.m., the evacuation was in full swing. Gladys called me, laughing through tears. You should see Marcus trying to organize this. He doesn't even know where we keep the moving supplies. Because I always handled logistics, I said. Just like I handled facilities, vendor relationships, building maintenance coordination. All the little things he never noticed. Where will you go now? She asked. I already have office space lined up. Morrison Strategic Consulting. We'll be on the 31st floor, actually. Been renovating it for months. You're starting your own firm? In the same building. My building, my rules. Besides, the Morrison Industries account follows me. It's in my contract with them. Westfield too. A few others have already reached out. Would you consider? Gladys, I'll need an office manager. Same salary plus 20%. Interested? She cried harder. Your father would be so proud. By 6 p.m., Thompson Digital was officially homeless. Marcus made one last attempt, showing up at my 30th floor office with what remained of the board. You can't do this, Board Chairman William Hayes said sternly. This is corporate sabotage. This is property management, I corrected. I offered below-market rates for years out of family loyalty. That loyalty ended at 11:47 this morning when Marcus publicly fired me for nepotism. We'll sue. Please do. I'd love Discovery to reveal how much of Thompson Digital's success came from my accounts, my relationships, my strategies. All while being paid 30% less than market rate for my position. They exchanged glances. They knew I was right. Marcus stepped forward. Diane, I'm sorry. I let my ego get in the way. You're my sister. We can work this out. We could have worked it out at any point in the last 8 years. When you took credit for the Morrison deal. When you restructured bonuses to favor your drinking buddies. When you slowly pushed me out of strategic planning. I gave you dozens of chances to see me as an equal. I see that now. Because I own the building. Not because you've grown. Not because you recognize my value. Because I have something you need. That's not fair. Fair. I laughed. Was it fair when you announced at last year's Christmas party that I only had a job because Dad felt sorry for me? Was it fair when you told the board I was aging out of relevance at 35? Was it fair this morning when you humiliated me in front of my team? He looked at his shoes, Italian leather, $2,000 billed to the company. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You'll find new office space. You'll struggle without my accounts, but maybe you'll survive. Maybe you'll even learn something. But you'll do it without my help, my building, or my connections. And if we fail, then you'll know how it feels to have your professional life destroyed by family. They left dejected. Within a month, Thompson Digital had relocated to a suburban office park, lost 60% of their clients, and laid off half the staff. Marcus called occasionally, leaving voicemails about reconciliation, about Dad's legacy, about family obligation. I never responded. Morrison Strategic Consulting launched with 15 employees, all poached from Thompson Digital and 3 major accounts. Within 6 months, we were billing more than Thompson ever had. Turns out, removing the nepotism actually improved performance, just not in the way Marcus had expected. The 20th floor stood empty for exactly 1 week before I leased it to a women-owned startup at a rate, actual market rate, not the family discount Marcus had enjoyed. Why help them? Gladys asked. You don't know them. Because they'll appreciate it, I said. And because success is the best revenge, but helping others succeed? That's the best redemption. A year later, at an industry awards dinner, I ran into Marcus. He'd lost weight, aged visibly, wore a decent but not designer suit. Diane, he said quietly. Congratulations on the Innovation Award. Thank you. I heard Morrison Strategic is killing it. We're doing well. I was wrong, he said simply. About everything. You weren't riding on nepotism. I was. You weren't the one who needed to learn about the real world. I was. And have you? Learned. Yeah. Learned that the person I called a nepotism hire was actually the foundation holding everything up. Learned that family business means nothing if you don't treat family with respect. Learned that owning the building is just a metaphor for owning your worth. It was the most insight I'd ever heard from him. How's Thompson Digital? I asked. Surviving. Barely. We do small regional accounts now. I actually have to pitch for business instead of waiting for you to bring it in. He smiled ruefully. I'm getting pretty good at it. Growth often comes from struggle. Diane, I know I have no right to ask, but I'm not giving you the building back, Marcus. No, not that. I was wondering, would you consider grabbing coffee sometime? Not as business partners, just as siblings who need to start over. I studied him, really looked at him for the first time in years. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something that might have been humility. Maybe, I said finally, but not in my building. Neutral ground. Fair enough. And Diane? The day I fired you was the stupidest decision of my life. Not because of the building or the accounts. Because I lost my sister over my own ego. I nodded and walked away, leaving him with that truth. Some bridges, once burned, can be rebuilt. But the foundation is never quite as strong. My building stands tall in the city skyline, Thompson Digital's old logo no longer visible from the street. In its place, a dozen smaller companies thrive, paying fair rent to a landlord who understands the value of respect. And on the 30th floor, Morrison Strategic Consulting continues to grow, built on the foundation of talent, not entitlement. The view from up here is spectacular, especially when you own the whole damn building. Turns out, the best response to pack your things isn't revenge or reconciliation. It's revelation. The revelation that you were never the one who needed that office anyway.